My name is Michael Betel. I'm the president and founder of the Fatty Liver Alliance. Great day today, and we timed this out perfectly because it's Global Fatty Liver Day, and it's only once a year. And so we wanted to have everybody here, and we picked Calgary on purpose. This is the title of tonight, which you saw, is Your Liver, Your Health, Understanding MASLD, so Metabolic Dysfunction, they don't show that there, Associated Steatotic Liver Disease is what that stands for. That's why we just say fatty liver, because it's probably easier to remember. And it's about MASH, and that's Metabolic Dysfunction-associated steatohepatitis. Who cares? You don't have to remember that. It just means fatty liver and the different stages of it. Liam over there later when you get a chance, another company called Madrigal created this really cool liver on the table there. That's really a real, made after a real liver, but this has got cross sections so you can see and feel the difference what happens to your liver as liver disease progresses. So I really encourage you. We are the first ones in the world to have this other than being at the medical conferences. So take a minute to actually hold it and understand it. It'll make a really big difference. And all of this is about metabolic health because it's all connected. And we're going to explain to you tonight so that you really understand how everything you do is connected with the liver. Next slide, thank you. My background, I come from the pharmaceutical industry for I stopped counting, but I started in 1988, so whatever that is. I just say 25 years because after that it's like, and it was always in the liver. And I just share that to say that it used to be in hepatitis, and I really had a chance to understand patients, physicians' perspectives, even the industry to understand as new drugs come out, research, all of that stuff. And then I worked after that for a not-for-profit, for Canadian Blood Services actually, for 5 years. So I sort of have a good cross-section of understanding. But what matters to me is, like all of us, is our own health and our family, most importantly. And as it turns out in my family, in the last 13 months, my father, my uncle, and my aunt, 3 siblings, all of them passed away. And you can call it whatever you want. My dad had stage 4 prostate cancer, but that's not really what he died from, because sure, it's invading things, but in his case, it invaded the capsule of the kidney, and they could have done some surgery, and he would have been probably okay for another whatever amount of time he had. But they couldn't, because they couldn't put him on dialysis, and they couldn't put him on dialysis because he had cardiovascular problems. All of them are related. Never did, we didn't do a biopsy on his liver because that wasn't the critical issue at the time, which is really, really why we want to try to identify patients as early as possible and not wait until they're in the hospital with a serious disease. And my aunt and my uncle also had type 2 diabetes, obesity they struggled with their whole life. They had kidney issues too, cardiovascular issues, all of them. So if you think about your own families or people you know, because fatty liver disease is so common, it's over 30% of the population has it. You're very likely you're going to see a lot of people that also struggle with obesity and also have type 2 diabetes, because they're very often related and occurring, and they call comorbidities, are at the same time. And so what we need to do is, in the best world, avoid them from happening in the first place, and then if we can't do that because it's too late, then we need to approach each of the issues one at a time, and that's why you need to really speak with your physician and tell them you have, and you'll understand after today what those risk factors are, you have these risk factors, please test me, do an assessment for me, usually a blood test to start with, and find out if I have fatty liver disease, and that'll be a really good start. So that's my key message for today. So after I started Fatty Liver Alliance, as the president, I thought it would be a good idea to lead by example. So I actually had a fiber scan done like that, and I had something called a CAP score. It's the fat score, really, steatosis, and it goes to 400 mark, right? So I had 319. That meant 75% of my liver, and there's a section of it on the model. Hey, Liam, you want to hold it up? So about 75% of my liver had fat on it, and it's like, oh my God, that's the left side is what it's supposed to look like. And I said, oh my God, how did that happen? I didn't I was really shocked, and so it pushed me to make changes in my life. Some of the stuff, I also found out that I had prediabetes, which I didn't know. I knew I had sleep apnea, and I also had high cholesterol. So those are things, a lot of them you can take medications for, and that's really what you need to do with your doctor. But when you find out that you have fatty liver, it will sometimes scare you. So on the next slide, so hard to see, but The first one was done in May 2022. You can't see it with the light in here. I guess we should have turned off the lights. But 319, and then another score that's on there is the fibrosis, the scarring. Really, it's a measure. That one is the one that we have to take even more seriously, because if it reaches a certain level, you can be treated, but there's more severe. It takes more. It's not just lifestyle changes. So it might be. Well, I don't want to talk about what you guys are going to talk about, but there are things that you can do that you'll hear about tonight. But anyway, in January I did another one. It still stayed 256, and then I did another one in May. I was just at a conference. I was fortunate enough to have another one, so around 250. So I'm still considered having MASLD. I still have fatty liver. In fact, the numbers are at least 248. That's the Europeans just shared, and the physicians in Canada somehow have even lower thresholds where they would say that you're healthy, normal. So anyway, the good thing is that if you have an opportunity at some point, if not tonight, to talk to your physician, and the blood tests indicate that it's something that you should do, you can have this really easy test, and it'll tell you how much fat or how much, how much hopefully not fibrosis that you have. I would just note here too that this was not easy. It's like I struggle every day. I look at food and it's like, even today I had a half a muffin, which I know I shouldn't have had, but I did anyway. And so if it's got sugar in it, it's bad, period. That's the easiest thing you can remember for the rest of your life. And these metabolic changes are you're probably for life. You're going to be, if you're struggling with it, it doesn't go away. If you go back to eating what you're not supposed to be eating, it's going to come back again as well. And so we always look for this tailored approach of care. Okay, next slide. And so I'll just go quickly through these because we started late today, but this is our mission and our vision. So we're all about raising awareness about the risks and the causes and the complications of fatty liver disease, and people who find out that they have it, we try to do everything we can to give them access to whatever approved treatment is available, not always pharmacological as well. And we do want to live in a country and a world where we can avoid having this in the first place, and if not, let's do what we can to make sure that patients have the best care. Okay, next slide. So we have a board of directors. I won't go into this too, but we have a hepatologist, we have a primary care physician, we have a nurse practitioner, and two people that marketing and business people to help with the organization. And Liam's over there. See, you got the big image on the right. And so we do have some volunteers that help us with the blog. So fattyliver.ca is the website if you want to. There's hundreds and hundreds of blogs and videos and all kinds of stuff you could be watching forever if you want. What's the website again? fattyliver.ca for Canada. Like, easy. Okay. Next slide, please. So we have four things that we focus on. The first one is educational outreach, and that's really like 90% of what we're focusing on, because we try, and I'm going to show you really quickly what we're doing, but we want to share as much information as we can with you being in the community. This is great today, and I thank you again for coming out, but there's different channels, different ways that we can reach people, and so I'll share that with you. The partnerships, and I have another slide, but partnerships with organizations and with people and other not-for-profits as well. If there's things that we can do to help with policy to change, which is really, really, really hard to do, is to change government stuff. We've gone with CASL, the Canadian Associated Study of Liver Disease, of liver. Mark used to be the president of that, and those are things that we really need to change probably, but we'll talk about that too. And then of course, as a not-for-profit charity, we want to try to be financially stable. Okay, next slide. Interesting to know there are actually over 100 different liver conditions / diseases, and fatty liver is just one of them, and we're only focused on fatty liver disease. That's just one, and in Canada we're the only not-for-profit charity focused just in this one area. So, and like I said, it's over 30% of the population has it, so it's really serious. Okay, next slide. So one of the things that we just did, and this is available if you want to see it too, is we did the videos with 10 experts around the world about all the things that a patient who knows that they have fatty liver or MASH, more advanced, and you can see them on the right. I don't have to read them all because you can scan it faster than I can say them, but it was everything that a patient would want to know so that they could actually speak with their physician so they understand the disease that they have. They can talk to their family about it, what the risk factors are, all of these things. Resources that are available to them as well. And so that's available. You can watch that. Anybody can watch that too. Next slide. We also have a patient portal specifically, so there's a drop-down is really easy to find, and we have, this is for patients too, and there's a lot of blogs that are available as well that you can just read or listen to. Okay, next slide. One of the other things that we do for the community is have, which I love doing, are the actual conversations with experts. Sometimes new data comes out that's really exciting, and I kind of want to be the one that fatty liver, shares that. And so we go out of our way to share as much as we can, as quickly as we can. So if you want the latest, this is a good thing to do here. Here's one as an example on intermittent fasting and why that's good for some patients. And then this other doctor was talking about the food choices we make, the healthy foods, the unhealthy foods, oils that are good and oils that are bad and that kind of stuff. So I try to change that up. Okay, next. So this is the event that we did. You guys are the second in the world. So the first one was the one we piloted in Westmont. So you can see, I think the crowd here is good too. So that's what it looked like in Quebec at the time. Next slide. You can go next slide, but these are just some screenshots of a bunch of things that we've done before. So it's not just patients, we also spend a lot of time educating physicians. So primary care physicians is one. Every December, we've had two, the third one is December the 5th. We're gonna have an event for physicians so that they can learn about the latest with fatty liver disease and so that they can be better physicians through knowing the most recent research. And it changes every time. I just came back from a meeting in Europe, the European Association of Study Liver, and they presented quite a few things that's really breakthrough data that's really, really important. So this is a fluid environment and it's changing all the time, which is really, really exciting. A lot of interest in this area. So there was like 16 different presentations here and we had like, I think 23 speakers. So this is also online if you want to watch any of those. Okay, next slide. And the other thing that I love to do, I'm always the guy in the front row at the conferences, basically taking the information that's being presented and sharing it back around the world online too. So this is how we try to stay as current as we can. Next. Oh, and then LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook were available on as well. And just this slide to show we are involved in research. We've collaborated with or been co-authors on a number of studies. And at conferences as well and other meetings, there is a Canadian liver meeting in Quebec City this year, and that's one of them we've been collaborating with in the past. And I actually was asked in the US by a group called Institute for Clinical and Economic Review called ICER and the FDA, and I actually testified to talk about a new drug that was coming out, whether or not we felt that it should be approved or not. So it's really important for Canadians and for patients to have input in the world and have a say. And so things have really progressed over the last few years, and these meetings all have streams now for patients to be able to share what matters to us, right? Okay. This just shows that this is not a simple disease. I shared with you before that this is a metabolic disease. It's about the liver, but it's about all of these other specialists and caretakers that are involved in disease. So, you can see at one time it was about the patient and about the primary care physician and about the hepatologist, but there's just no way. There's so many other indications and things that we may not have put together, but we are really understanding a lot better now. And next slide. And the great thing is, and I can speak for myself and other colleagues around the world too, that these organizations have actually not only invited us to participate at all these conferences, but actually have a seat at the table at a panel and be able to do presentations. So there's like, this one was in Barcelona, steatotic liver disease. It was a think tank coming up with new ideas and ways to solve the problems of disease. The Forum for Collaborative Research, there was Mosaic, the EASL conference we just had, and of course CASTLE too. So patients and your families that find out they have disease, they're not alone, and the physicians around the world want to work with us to understand what our needs too. Even with doing research, we input on clinical trial design and we change the way that companies are studying so that they understand the challenges patients have. Okay, next slide. So I was asked the last 2 years, I've been leading in the US 14 different organizations. These are all, like us, grassroots organizations that are focused on liver disease. And so I'm leading this group and probably will continue to do it again in the future. Next slide. And we collaborate. I said to you, one of the pillars was collaborating and, and have the trust of other organizations. And so we're collaborating with all of these organizations and trying to work with them, use their resources to spread the word so that, that we can make a difference in the world and with patients. Okay, next, please. There are a lot of people that are involved other than just the patients. There's the families, that's at the top. On the left side are all the physicians and medical people that we deal with that I just showed you some of them. There's the advocacy groups, other not-for-profits. There's the industry, the food industry can make a huge difference, but with the types of foods that they're creating, they're sweeter and sweeter all the time, and we're addicted to them. And all of these people together are going to work, and that's part of our alliance. Next slide, we're almost done. So we're going to continue to build this momentum, building awareness and prevention. Early diagnosis is really important, as I shared with you. Intervening as early as possible so that we can actually do something for patients early, and helping whatever way we can with research so that we can continue to come up with new ways to treat patients. Next slide. And so this is really working together. That's why I encourage you to visit us if you're on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, or you can go to the website. Next slide. So you can join us. Next slide. Thank you. I think there's one more slide, maybe. Yeah, and also I do want to thank our sponsors tonight. We would not have been able to put this together for you. Novo Nordisk, Siemens Healthineers, who's actually here tonight, EchoSense, K&S Canada. The microphone's not great. K&S Canada is here as well. They're the ones that are doing the scans of the back. Madrigal gave those models over there, and Global Liver Institute as well.